but the protection of the minority, said by Albert Camus.
Good morning to one and all present here. Myself Sridhanvi.
Myself, Ayan.
Today we are here to support the topic, is democracy the best form of government? Democracy. The word democracy is derived from ancient Greece. Demos means people, kratos means rule. So the word democracy itself means people rule. So in democracy we get to choose our leader. As said by Abraham Lincoln, democracy is the government that follows the basic principle by the people, for the people, to the people. Democracy is known as the best form of government as it gives us equality, safety and the ability to choose our leader.
Democracy. Democracy is the best form of government as the rulers of the nation are elected by the people. Democracy is better than other forms of government because it allows us to correct our own mistakes. It is a government which is accountable to the people. Democracy allows us the dignity of the citizens. In democracy, there is a religious freedom among the people. Democracy also gives equality to the citizens.
Democracy is nothing more than a mob view where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49 by Thomas Jefferson. Good morning to one and all present here. Myself Mohammed, myself Samira. Today we both are here to represent the topic that democracy is not the best form of government. Yes, democracy is not the best form of government because leaders keep changing in democracy and it leads to corruption. There is no scope for morality. Democracy is all about political competitions and power play. Democracy is so many people are consolidated in democracy, it leads to delays. Elected leaders does not know what is the best interest of the people. This leads to bad decisions by elected leaders. Democracy leads to corruption as it is based on electoral competition. Ordinary people does not know what is good for them, thus they should not decide anything. We live in a democratic country. India is prospering very much just because it is democratic. Isn't it obvious that democracy is the best form of government? Why do we need to debate this right now? We should not accept anything just because it is famous, just because everyone else accepts it. What use is democracy for our country? After all the years had gone by, there is so much poverty in our country.
Do we have poverty because we are democratic? No. What has democracy brought to deal with it?
The point is that democracy is not the best form of government. The elected people or the representatives only think about themselves, not about the country. Which other government should we follow instead? Is there any other government that is better than democracy? I think that our country needs a good leader who just thinks about the country, and this alone could remove poverty and corruption in our country. This is called dictatorship. Should we replace democracy in the place of dictatorship?
What if that person starts using all this power for himself and his family?
I'm speaking of a leader who is honest and sincere and just thinks about the country. This is not fair. You're comparing a real democracy with an ideal dictatorship. We must compare a real democracy with an real dictatorship. You are saying that democracy is the best form of government. Kosovo, you must heard about Kosovo. It's a democratic country. There are many types of religions like India. 10% of population is of Serbs and 76% of population is of Albanians. All the leaders of Kosovo were of Serb religions. Serbs wanted to increase their population and decrease the population of Albanians. So the Serb leaders killed each and every man and the kid of the Albanian. This is what happening in democratic country. This incident took place just because of the mindset and the misunderstanding of the Serbian leaders. You cannot blame democracy. In democracy, we get fundamental rights, so it is called as the best form of government.
Right to education, right to freedom, right to equality, right to constitutional education, cultural and educational right against exploitations.
Do we get these rights in monarchy and dictatorship? Yes, in monarchy and dictatorship countries too, people enjoy these basic fundamental rights, like in England. Is there any other example you can give me? Yes, there are many examples of monarchy and dictatorship. For example, Israel, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Dubai. There is no democracy in these countries, but still, following monarchy and dictatorship, these countries still improve in many things, like developing their countries and many more other things. But many countries are suffering very much just because they are not democratic, just like the China famine.
China famine from 1958 to 1961 was the worst famine in the world history. Nearly 3 crore people died in this famine. At that time, India's economic condition was much better than China.
Because of the existence of democracy in India, they were able to provide food for the Chinese people. And in China, there was no democracy, so they suffered from these horrible famines. From when the debate has started, you are saying that democracy is the best form of government. US is a perfect example of democracy. Do you agree with it? And an incident took place around 2001 to 2002 in US. Around 600 people all over the world were secretly arrested by the US Army. They blamed that they were linked to an attack in New York, September 11, 2002. This is what happening in a democratic country. This incident was quite popular. The president of US himself requested the army to release all those 600 people, but they did not. There must be a hidden and secret case in this reason.
From that time, you are arguing that monarchy and dictatorship are better than democracy. Can you tell the advantages of monarchy and dictatorship?
Yes, monarchy and dictatorship are far better than democracy. There are many disadvantages in democracy that cannot be faced in monarchy and dictatorship. What are the disadvantages of democracy? Can you explain me? Yes, I can explain. There are so many disadvantages in democracy. In Pakistan, the PM himself made the president and dismissed all the journalists and the political parties who were against him. In the name of democracy, these countries follow monarchy and dictatorship. This is called fake democracy. Many countries follow fake democracy like Turkey, Brazil, Spain and Mexico.
But in real democracy country, to take a simple decision, we have to discuss with many people. If the decision is not good, they will not take the decision. But in Pakistan, it is not a complete democracy country. And if you talk about monarchy and dictatorship, what they have brought to their country? Famine, war, disasters and poverty, because they are not democratic.
Nothing like this is happening. Can you prove it? Yes, obviously I can prove it. Everyone here must have heard about Kim Jong-un, the dictator of North Korea. Many people in that country are suffering just because of the dictator. They are trying to escape from their own country. It is the dictator to be blamed and not the dictatorship. Many countries like Singapore have been prospered and developed just because they are dictatorship. But there can be only one or two dictatorship countries that are prospering. Does development mean more than the happiness of the people? And in a democratic country, there are many disadvantages. Like we can take India. In India 2005, an incident took place in Madras. Around 7 to 12 age children were kidnapped secretly and they were sold in an auction in Olur Nagar. This is what happening in a democratic country.
But now the existence of democracy and fundamental rights, these cases have been reduced more and more in our own country like India.
And all here must have known about Adolf Hitler. He was the dictator of Germany who was responsible for starting the World War II. The World War II was started by Hitler when he wanted to get the rule of Poland. But France and Britain declared war on Germany. Then the World War II started. More than 30 countries were involved in that war. 50 million people died. This was the most deadliest war which dragged for 6 years. And this happened in a dictatorship country. If that country was democratic, the leader would have been changed in 5 years and wouldn't have been given the right to take these decisions. It is difficult to ascertain the which form of government is better in a given time frame. Many countries follow democracy and many countries follow monarchy and dictatorship. Some countries have developed and prospered, but some are not prospering. This happens if the dictators and the rulers of these countries are corrupt. The form of government too becomes corrupt. Any form of government can be made the best if the leaders are good, sincere, and honest to the people.
So we conclude our debate on democracy is the best form of government is that democracy is the best form of power to rule a country, whether it is rich or poor, educated or uneducated, one all are equal.
One should always strive together towards a liberal democracy. The best way of democracy of ruling the people with governance is also known as democratic republic form. We agree that democracy is the best form of government. Thank you.